Hello, I am Travis. This is Oscar Mike Radio. Oscar Mike Radio is a military podcast. You can find out more on oscarmikeradio.com. Today is April 4th, 2019, number 142. I'm going to start off with the question of the week. And I was asked, how is the veterans team doing at Reedy's Archery? For some of you who've been following along on Oscar Mike Radio and other things, Chris Reed, owner of Reedy's Archery, in effect is sponsoring the startup of a veterans archery team called Reedy's Veterans. And the idea is to get the veterans fitted out with bows that they can use, have them practice, and have them compete. And I am on the team. For me, it's about getting the reps in, remembering what works and what doesn't. I got a new bow. My other bow was 17 years old. It was starting to show its age. The difference was I knew exactly what that thing was going to do at 10, 20, and 40 yards. And what I mean by that is I could pull it out of the case, put an arrow on it, warm up, and then, 6 shots later, have tight groups at any one of those distances. Because I was primarily into hunting versus target shooting. But still, I want to make sure that my equipment is set up and dialed in for me and that I know what I'm doing. This new bow, in every way, is light years better than what I was using. Same manufacturer, same kind of a approach to bow design, but new materials, new ideas, new design philosophy has changed the way that I shoot a bow and arrow. This bow is the same, in terms of spec and draw weight. And what draw weight is how many pounds it takes to pull the bow back. Same that way, right? Same draw length for me, same arrow that I'm using on the old one that I'm using on the new one. But it shoots much, much faster. My old bow was doing good to get maybe 250 to 270 feet per second. This bow shoots in the 300s, 320, 330, 340, no problem. And in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a huge Hoyt fan. I am shooting the Hoyt Helix. And one of the things that I really have enjoyed so far is watching my fellow veterans who don't have an archery background take to this and get that fire to compete and to work toward getting better with what they have, right? It's very, very cool to see. Really awesome to watch them enjoy themselves and work hard to getting better with what they're doing. And the other thing is just watching Chris Reed and his staff work with like me and the other veterans to correct, problems, to, answer questions, to provide guidance to get us on the right path. And there's nothing like going down to the outdoor range on a Sunday and just getting outside and, working on your craft. So to answer that question, it's going very well. I'm enjoying it. I'm getting to meet veterans that I have, contacted on Facebook in different groups. I'm getting out of the house. I'm getting exercise, and I'm getting back into really being proficient with the bow and arrow. So if you're in the South Shore area of Massachusetts and want to check out what I'm talking about at Reedy's Archery, you can go to reedysarchery.com and find out more and stop by and see his store. It's a great place to go. It's a great place to be, and I love being there, and just want to say thanks to Chris and all his staff, Jake, Connor, Daniel, Ryan, Scott, Michael, for all the work you do to help everybody out, veterans included. All right, I'm going to move on to the word of the week. In the word in the military, it starts at the top and flows downhill and all around. And I got an article message to me on Facebook about a bride who kicked out this Marine from her wedding. And I'll have the link to the Reddit post in the Oscar Mike Radio blog post on OscarMikeRadio.com. Please throw me that like on the Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and subscribe to the website to be in the know. You don't want to miss anything. And the title of the article says, Am I the Asshole? I'm going to start off by saying that you really can't tell if this happened to a real person, or a real person did this. As of this podcast, I have no information to say that this is an actual Marine that got kicked out or an actual bride that actually did the kicking out. And I'm surprised that she went to Reddit to air her grievance. So I'm going to read you some of this and we'll talk about it, and then we'll go into my experience. So she starts off, and I'll have this post in the Oscar Mike Radio blog post that goes along with this podcast. And she starts off and says, the son of one of my husband's family friends showed up to my wedding in his Marine's formal wear. I hate her already. Marines do not have formal wear in that regard. Yes, there's the ceremonial dress uniform, but that's not what she's talking about here. So she's already annoying me. And she says, the son of one of my husband's family friends. So I guess she's getting married to this guy, and one of his friends had their son come to the wedding. Okay. Showed up to my wedding in his Marine's formal wear, complete with all his medals. You can go to a wedding with ribbons and badges. I've done that. Kind of works out. But now, I have nothing against anyone in the military, but this was a black tie optional wedding, and frankly, it felt very out of place and seemed like he was just trying to show off. My wedding had over 300 guests. Ooh, aren't you popular? And nobody else felt the need to wear something to make them stand out. Okay, a couple things here. If you're a PFC, private, lance corporal, or corporal, and you're stationed, I don't know, and I don't know, this could have been reservist, but still, if you're active duty and you're serving overseas, or you're in Florida and your duty station's in Alaska, and you're an E4, E5 and below, just getting the funds to come to the wedding and the leave and jumping through those hoops is a huge accomplishment. You might not have the money to go to Men's Warehouse and get yourself a suit. And you could go to Goodwill or, I don't know, a department store and look nasty. Or you can take out your dress blues and come to the wedding like that. Is he standing out or trying to dress appropriately at a formal wedding and look good doing it? I'll get to my experience in the wedding in a minute. She goes on to say, up until the point I asked him to leave, he of course was acting very well-mannered and like a complete gentleman, as one might expect from a member of the armed services. And there were even a few excited teenage girls at my wedding who wanted to take a picture with him, to which he graciously agreed. That's going to happen. Many people were thanking him for his service, and frankly, it just felt like the only reason he wore that was to be in the spotlight and make it about him, which I don't think you're supposed to do at anyone else's wedding. Again, if he is an E4 and below, you're taking home about $13,000 to $15,000 a year. Maybe it's gone up since I was in, but you're not making a lot of money. You're really not. And an $800 plane ticket home can wipe out your meager funds. Your maxing out the credit card. You're trying to make that work because mom and dad want you there. And people, I'm telling you right now, at your duty station, it's not like at your home or the college dorm room where you have all this room to put your stuff. I can show you a picture of my wall locker where I had to put all my civilian and military clothes, and you got really creative with space. You didn't buy stuff you weren't going to wear. So having a $300 to $500 suit sitting in your locker that was going to do nothing, 364 days out of the year doesn't make a lot of sense for an E4 and below. It just doesn't. Your blues, which must be maintained to absolute military precision, is a viable alternative, which you're allowed to do. Now, I have to ask some of the women out there that are, reading this and who've been married, at least in my experience, that guy out in the crowd's going to stand out a little bit. But if you're walking down the aisle, right, to the minister and your, soon-to-be husband, are you really thinking that you're not the center of attention for that time? Do women scan the entire audience to make sure that every eyeball is on them and that no person is looking better than them? I would hazard a guess, I'm just hazarding a guess here, that when you walk down the aisle, that everybody in the area was looking at you, and there weren't 300 people, so let's just say 60 people were checking out the Marine and checking out you. No, everybody was staring at you as you walk down the aisle. So I don't think that's it. Did this happen at the reception? I don't know. It just seems contrived a little bit is what I'm trying to say. She's married. She's at the reception. She's doing the dance with her dad. He's doing the dance with his mom. They're doing crazy stuff, right? Is she really paying attention to every person in the party out of 300 people in a hall or reception area? I don't know, ladies. I don't know. She goes on to say again, let me read this again, which I don't think frankly, it felt like the only reason he wore it was to be in the spotlight and make it about him, which I don't think you're supposed to do at someone else's wedding. If he wants to wear that to his own wedding, then fine. But the whole point of having a dress code at the wedding is that so no one guest will stand out too much. Again, I can't argue that. You don't want to come dressed in pink or some loud outfit that doesn't fit the decor of what the bride's requesting. Some guys wear suits. I don't know. I don't know. I felt he should have known this, since the whole point of uniforms in the military is so that you don't stand out from everyone else. Let me read that again. I felt that he should have known this, since the whole point of uniforms in the military is so that you don't stand out from everyone else. Well, Marine Corps uniforms stand out. And yes, they all look the same when we're, a bunch of us are together. There are certain things on the uniform that will make a Marine stand out versus another Marine. The chevrons, the service stripes, the medals, the ribbons and badges, the whole 9 yards, the blood stripe. There are little things that make one Marine not like the other. I felt that he should have known this. No, I can tell you that a 21-year-old, corporal is not going to understand wedding etiquette. He's just happy to be there around his parents, who are proud of him and happy that he's home enjoying this time. I felt kind of bad about asking him to leave, but it just didn't feel right to have him there like that. AITA, which stands for Am I the Asshole? And then this thing, I guess, blew up on Reddit. There were other articles about it. It hit Facebook. People weighed in with all kinds of comments. I'm going to read this one comment from this Army sergeant. And I don't know, dude. I don't know who you are, but this is why the Army's the Army. This is from a former Army sergeant. You can read it right below this. Him wearing formal military wear at a formal civilian events is allowed per regulations. The Marine Corps is cool with this when it comes to things like weddings. But then he goes on to say, but you have to be a special kind of asshole to wear it to a non-military wedding without specific permission of the couple. The reason for this is the same as wearing white to a wedding. It puts you in competition with the bride. He should have dressed in civilian wear, or at the very least check with the couple before getting married. Again, may not have known. Tons of guys wear their blues to their brothers, family, friends, relations, weddings all the time. And you're in the Army, dude. I mean, really? He was rude. No question, but kicking him out of the wedding was a bit much. It's your special day, but you shouldn't forget that you play dual roles. You're both the host and the one feted. Don't forget that former role. You probably should have grimaced and just gone along with it, such as other faux pas. Wait a minute, hold on a second. You should have grimaced and just gone along with it. I don't know what this guy's saying. Along with other faux pas, such as Uncle Larry puking in the bushes and Cousin Jenny making out with the DJ. With 300 guests, one person in uniform isn't going to kill your day. Personally, even if I could fit in my uniform, I would not wear it to the wedding unless forced. Now, again, I'm gonna sit there and say this. I think the Army guy is kind of off a little bit, but I'm not aware of any kind of social construct where you have to ask a bride to wear your military uniform to a wedding. I've never heard of that, honestly. And again, I go back to my original point. When you're pulling in about, $1,300 after taxes, renting a tux or buying a suit for one-time use is a lot of money for an E2, E3, and E4. It's a lot of money, okay? Maybe the parents or the friends could have told the bride, hey, my family friend's son is coming in his military uniform. Is that okay? I'll give her that. But I think she's making a lot of ado about nothing. I really do. Which leads me to my experience going to a wedding in my military uniform. I did not have this experience when I was invited to my best friend's wedding in Louisiana. In fact, his bride's father worked on F-111s in the Air Force and comes from a very military family background. And to her credit, she just expected me. She made it very clear that I was to come to her wedding in my blues. That was made painfully clear to me when I attended the wedding. And of course, you're jumping through the hoops, and I was an E3 at the time, or was I? I take that back. I was a PFC at the time. So I had to get leave, which I don't care what anybody says, getting leave is always a hassle. Then I had to have my sergeant inspect me in my blues, my staff sergeant over my section inspect me in my blues. Lieutenant really didn't care, but he made sure that the gunny looked at me in my blues to make sure that I was right and that I had everything in my travel case before I went to the wedding so I wouldn't embarrass myself. And I went to the wedding and had a great time. I will tell you this, before we go down the aisle, because I was in the wedding, the bride wanted me to wear a boutonniere. And as a PFC, I really didn't understand it, but I'm like, it's not really part of my uniform. She's like, no, I'll wear it anyway. Took a picture. Got the picture developed before I went back to Yuma. This was still when there weren't digital cameras or cameras on phones. And the battery gunny saw the photo of me with the boutonniere on. And I had to fill some sandbags. I got yelled at. He wanted to write me up and take me to the first sergeant and have me, written up for not being in uniform. Now, my section sergeant and corporal went to bat for me and said, look, he didn't know. He didn't have it on the whole time. Her father was a F-111, mechanic in the Air Force. He made a mistake. 25 sandbags. 25 sandbags. Sergeant Munoz was like, just fill the sandbags and take the chewing. But come to find out, that's a very real thing. You, as a Marine, are not allowed to put a boutonniere on for a wedding. And sometimes, depending upon the situation, your command can take a very, very dim view of that. So I was absolutely wrong there. And while I paid a little price for it, it wasn't that big of a deal. 25 knocked them out in about 2 hours and got it done. Never did it again. I still would say to this bride that it must have been nice. Your situational awareness must be really something to pick out a person in his dress blues, probably sitting toward the back of the area in church. And he got a couple pictures with some cute little teenage girls, and some people came up to him and shook his hand on your day. I don't know if it was a strict faux pas, but I do think it was much ado about nothing. And I feel that instead of kicking him out of your wedding, you could have at least talked to him, maybe gotten to know him a little bit. Instead, I'm going to rule that you are, in fact, an asshole. That being said, like I've told people before in this podcast, if I am wrong, if there's some kind of etiquette that I am not aware of, and you're supposed to ask a bride or the groom or both before you come to a wedding in your military uniform, regardless of your service, and you can educate me, then I will own that and eat that sandwich and learn. Until then, I just thought that kicking him out of the entire event didn't make her look good. And if she's willing to do that now, guys, what's she going to do later after the new wears off the relationship? You got to ask yourself that question. Not sure I want to find out. And I was happy that this Marine behaved with good manners, was gracious, and had the decency not to make a scene and just politely left. I don't agree with him getting kicked out, but he did not compound the problem and make it worse. So again, if you have a thought on this, you can hit me up, Travis@OscarMikeRadio.com. You can go to my Facebook page, hit that like button, subscribe, stay in the know. Let me know on the podcast post what you think. And if you got to get married, if you got to go to a wedding, just make sure you have all the intel. And whatever you do, do not wear the boutonniere ever. It's not good, not right. I can tell you that. And I will end this by saying absolutely one of the best things in my military career, as short and, as it was getting to be at my friend's wedding with him and his wife in my blues, and appreciated the fact that they made it clear that I was expected to wear my military uniform. There was no question. It was expected, and I appreciate that, and it made all the difference down the road. So thank you again. So this is number 142. We're getting close to 150. Lots of good stuff coming up this month and through the summer. Stay in the know, and let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. We're on the move.